Well, a lovely good morning and welcome to the Community Breakfast Show Thursday edition. My name is Patrick Soko and I'll be joined by my colleague Marco Kwakozi later on the program. But to just get started, I have to assure you that we have a fully packed program, and as usual, for this week we have been looking at the topical issue that's pertaining to developments unfolding in the former ruling party and the former party in power, and that is the Patriotic Front. And we have seen recent developments that have emerged with a court process coming into the picture, court processes rather coming into the picture. And yesterday we had two interventions, and we saw the court story as well as a story coming from Mr. Sampa, who was calling himself the PF president. But we saw that the court later on restrained him from calling himself that. But we know that this is not the end of the case, and we saw that later on he also issued a statement to the PF where he to the lawyers who include Makebi Zulu, who's against engaging in party affairs without his knowledge. And those are some of the unfolding events pertaining to that development, especially involving Mao Sampa and the PF led by Given Lubinda, who is the acting president. We'll be delving into that a little later, but to just get started, we get to understand what the doctors prepared for us pertaining to the Health Corner. Keep it on Community TV, not just another channel.
Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Namunji Matale from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia Executive, particularly under the Committee of Ethics and Advocacy. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Pinktober, hence the pink ensemble that you see here. And we are spreading awareness about breast cancer because it's one of the most common cancers found amongst women. It's a number 2 killer cancer amongst women in Zambia in particular. And there's so many women who can be affected by it, whether you've whether you know someone who's succumbed to breast cancer, or you are currently suffering from breast cancer, or you've just heard about it. So today we're going to be talking about treatment options and getting support. At the beginning of the week, we talked about what breast cancer is and how it's an abnormal growth of cells in your breast that forms a tumor, which can start to compete with your normal healthy living cells for everything that they need, from nutrients, oxygen, and everything else that's supposed to help it function, and the fact that it can spread. And we've also learned that there's several risk factors to it. If you have a family member who's had it before, or if you have a family member who's had any other cancer, even ovarian cancer, or be it any other cancer, you're also at risk. If you're a person who's never had a baby before, you've never breastfed, you had an early period, i.e. below the age of 12, if you are on hormonal replacement therapy, in our women who are postmenopausal, all of those include risk factors for breast cancer. Yesterday, we actually talked about self-examination and how self-examination is the first step to screening, and how women need to get into the habit of self-examination every single month. So you can check out yesterday's episode if you missed it on the same. So when it comes to treatment, there's several treatment methods that are used depending on the stage. So staging of cancer is basically to give us an idea of how far the cancer is in terms of where it is, has it spread, is it treatable, or are we just going to make someone comfortable until, the inevitable happens? So the trick with any cancer is to catch it early. And that is why we're spreading awareness in terms of people needing to screen. The importance of screening cannot be overemphasized. So when it comes to treatment, I'm sure most of us have heard about chemotherapy. This is normally done in a specialized hospital, like one of ours, Cancer Diseases Hospital, where certain chemicals are put into someone's system and they help clear out the cancer. It's a very rigorous process. A lot of people go through quite some gruesome parts of chemotherapy. You know, it has various side effects, but the end goal is treatment and curing a person of cancer. And this will lead me to say that is why it's so important for people to also have a support system when they have been diagnosed with cancer, be it breast cancer, be it cervical cancer, any kind of cancer. You require a lot of support because the treatment process is very, very testing of a person. So we have chemotherapy, and then we also have what we call surgery that helps take away the cancer, where we remove the cancer from the breast. So there's a time when there's a type of surgery where we take away a part of the lobe of the breast, which we call lobectomy, or we could actually remove the entire breast, which is what we call mastectomy, depending on the extent of the cancer, how big the tumor is, whether it's spread or not. Then we also have options like radiation, where a person is exposed to radioactive material that's meant to clear out the cancer cells that the surgeons can't see or remove. And then, of course, we have what we call palliative care, where we just take care of people whose cancer is too far gone, such that we just have to make them comfortable. So like I said earlier, the trick with any cancer, be it breast, be it cervical, be it prostate in men, it's important to screen so that you catch it early. The earlier you catch it, the more easily treatable it might be, and the easier it is to get rid of it. And also even just spread awareness about it. If you're in a family where one person has this type of cancer, it's important for your immediate relatives to also get screened for it. In terms of support groups for cancer, there's the Zambia Cancer Society, which supports all the different kinds of cancer in this country. You can look them up on social media. And then I'd also like to give a shout out to the Teal Sisters Foundation. They mostly focus on cervical cancer, but they also support other cancers that women on the Zambian front face. And right now we've been commemorating Pinktober, which is about breast cancer. So you can also look them up on social media. We'd like to emphasize once more that screening saves so many lives, especially if we catch it early. With any cancer, the downside is catching it when it's late, because it makes it harder to treat or cure. So please self-examine every month in the first 3 to 5 days after your period has started. Make sure you go to your nearest health facility and get an ultrasound done if you are below the age of 40, or a mammogram if you're above the age of 40. And make sure this month of October, take advantage of the different health facilities that are screening for breast cancer, be it government or private facilities. And remember that this weekend on 21st of October at Arcade Shopping Mall, the Medical Women's Association of Zambia will be carrying out free breast screening for women, as long as you come between the hours of 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. We'll be available to do free breast screening for you. And remember that this is a fundraiser, a fundraising aerobics event in order to support breast cancer awareness. So everyone is going to come in pink to support the cause, and we're going to exercise together and have fun together, have a good health talk together, and most importantly, screen for breast cancer. We hope to continue to look out for more information on breast cancer. Get screened, go for screening with a sister, learn how to examine yourself, and look out for the risk factors. We'll see you next time.
Oh, well, there you have it. That was the health corner there with the Dr. Matale. And thank you for that awareness pertaining to breast cancer. and cancer in general. We are looking at various cancer diseases this month, which is October, which is dedicated to cancer awareness. And Zambia is not left out in terms of commemorating that important activity. Kozi, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's good that we are here this morning. And as you have already told our viewers, we have a fully packed show, and we are hoping that you're going to keep it with us and, of course, continue being interactive as we continue with the program. We started with the health talk. We're talking breast cancer, and October is the awareness month for that particular disease. So make sure that you visit your health facility to just make sure that you do those checkups. And also Dr. Matale says you can do the checkups on your own. You really need to do that so that the earlier the cancer is detected, the better. Patrick, we need to see how the kwacha is performing against the other major convertibles.
Indeed. Let's have a look at how the kwacha is performing this morning. So now the Greater British Pound is buying at 26 kwacha 180 ngwe and selling at 26 kwacha 70 ngwe. The euro is buying at 22 kwacha 84 ngwe and selling at 23 kwacha 29 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 13 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 15 ngwe. The US dollar is buying at 1 kwacha 21 kwacha 59 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 02 ngwe. The greatest fear that we have had, Miriam Kaimbandai, has come to pass. We were looking at the kwacha probably not crossing over to 22 kwacha. Now it is on 22 kwacha on the selling side, because if you see there, 22 kwacha 02 ngwe and buying at 21 kwacha 59 ngwe,
Sure.
just the margin of 1 ngwe, and we are back to 22. This is a clear indicator that the currency is not performing as expected, but we can only be optimistic that authorities will do the needful.
Yeah, I think that it is important that I think we keep the kwacha, the dollar within 1920 somewhere there, even bring it down to 17 as it were. So it's unfortunate that we are going up. We are supposed to be a little bit constant, and now it brings in fears of the cost of fuel. If it continues going high, we expect that now the price of fuel will go up by the end of this month.
Indeed, and let's now get to our next segment, Kozi. We have to now zoom in the headlines.
Yes, we are now zooming in the stories that made the headlines. And the first one, as you might be aware, the President of the Republic of Tanzania was in Zambia to commemorate, to help us celebrate our independence, and of course attend to other meetings that were scheduled. And we have a story that says the United Republic of Tanzania President Samia Suluhu Hassan says she is committed to protecting and continuing the warm relations between Zambia and that country. Now, speaking when she addressed Parliament Wednesday afternoon, President Hassan said she is in the country to cement economic solidarity between the two countries. The Tanzanian head of state has also called on the maximum utilization of shared trades infrastructures between the two countries, such as the Tazama pipeline, which remains underutilized. President Hassan has since urged members of parliament to avoid politicking legal reforms that are aimed at improving trade between the two countries whenever they are called upon. Let's have a look at this.
Therefore, come to Zambia to cement our intention to work together with Zambia for a brighter future. And if I can sum up my main message on this visit, it would be cementing economic solidarity. Tremendous prosperity if utilized fully. When fully operational, Tazara can carry 5 million metric tons of cargo, However, last year records indicate that the railway only used 4% of its capacity to carry 210,000 metric tons. Clearly, more work needs to be done to utilize Tazara's full capacity. On the other hand, the Tazara's capacity to carry 3 million people per year is dwarfed by the reality that even at its peak, a maximum of 564,000 people were carried. Our two governments are aware of the importance of Tazara to our economies. Joint efforts will be required to resolve the challenges Tazara faces. Joint initiatives will also be needed to facilitate leasing and mobilization of resources for innovations. The same holds for Tanzania-Zambia Mafuta pipeline, Tazama. Expanding Tazama pipeline is key for Zambia's energy security, and we commit to doing so jointly. We will factor in all necessary considerations, including environmental and security.
Thank you very much. So that is about Tanzania and Zambia cementing their relations. Now, Patrick, Tanzania is one of the most important economic neighbors that we have. We have a lot of trade. We have a lot of, especially young women that go to Tanzania to go and order stuff, bring in Zambia and resell. So there's a lot of trade activities between Zambia and Tanzania, and also that is where most of Zambians buy vehicles from Japan and they dock.
They come through Tanzania.
Yes, through Tanzania. So
and we have our women who say vaenda kuna konde.
Nakonde, yeah.
That's because of that trade that takes place there between Zambia and Tanzania.
Sure.
Yeah, so even Tanzania, we are also beneficiaries of Nakonde rice. Good rice indeed, Kozi.
Sure.
And you are right to say Zambia and Tanzania have good relations, and there's opportunity to cement and grow those relations further to ensure that the two countries benefit because it's about mutual relations, win-win situations.
So that's exactly what President Hassan is saying, to say there's need to cement the relations. There's no need to start to politic about issues that talk to the relations between the two countries and cementing the relations. And I think that we should take advantage of such countries because Tanzania gives us a great opportunity. You can't compare the economic benefit of the Nakonde border post to these other border posts. So it's economic, and we really need to cement the relations.
Indeed. So now, moving on, Kozi, let's also, what other stories do we have there so that we get to look at another report before we look at this story pertaining to the PF? Then we will be ushering in our guest who's going to help us discuss these unfolding events pertaining to the Opposition Patriotic Front.
I've been itching to have somebody talk to us about issues that are happening in the Patriotic Front. But I'm happy that we have an opportunity to talk to somebody who is going to explain to us exactly what is happening and the way forward. Because since they left office, Patriotic Front said they wanted to rebrand, but what we are seeing now is not relating to that idea of rebranding. Anyways, let's have a look at a story that is giving us an update as regards the weather. And this one says, as the rainy season approaches under threat of an El Nino, an agricultural researcher has advised farmers across the country to familiarize themselves with the weather patterns in their respective areas so that they make informed decisions on what kind of crops to grow this farming season. Now, Oliver Bulaya says farmers must take advantage of the timely information from the government to grow maturing crops and practice climate-smart agriculture if they are to avert the worst impacts of and remain food secure. Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, Collins Nzovu, has warned that the country is likely to experience an erratic rainfall pattern, which will largely be influenced by El Nino, anticipated to hit most countries in the southern African region. Now, Vincent Piri brought us this report.
So for scientific and industrial research, an El Nino is developing and likely to hit the southern Africa this rain season. In Zambia, this is likely to affect the rainfall pattern, as announced by Minister of Green Economy and Environment, Collins Nzovu.
The rainfall distribution is likely to be erratic and uneven, with some periods of prolonged dry spells and periods of heavy rainfall events.
Agriculture researcher Dr. Oliver Blaya says the seed-producing companies must step up and start producing more of climate-resilient seeds, and farmers to take advantage of the timely information to make informed decisions.
It is important for our farmers in the southern part of our country to understand the dramatic effect of climate change, especially to do with El Nino. So it is important that even these seed companies that are producing seeds that are resilient to climate change, it is important for our farmers to couple it up with tillage systems that will be able to harvest enough moisture in the ground or in their field, so as to avoid, the loss of crops.
El Nino can cause heavy rains, flooding, extreme hot or cold weather conditions, which may be devastating to the agriculture sector. Vincent Piri for Community TV News, Lusaka. On 1st September 1997, government adopted a comprehensive public service reform program with the twin objectives of reducing excess employment in the public sector and improving the delivery of public services. Some 15,500 public workers were retrenched between December 1997 and end of 1998 under this program. The original plan envisaged a reduction in the size of the public service to 80,000 employees by end of 1999, according to a letter addressed to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, by then Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Edith Nawakwi, dated 10th March 1999. Over 20 years later, some of those who voluntarily separated from the public service have not been paid their dues, some of whom have died without receiving their money. Today, they gathered to get an update from their representatives who are speaking by the October 25th scorching sun.
We've been told stories to and from. Even this time, we are not sure when are we going to receive our monies. So we are appealing to our humble president, our president, His Excellency, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, to look into this pride, because this time he says himself, the president, he wants to clear all the backlog of all the people who hasn't received their monies, so that this coming year, as the new Dawn administration starts retrenching people or retiring people, they should be getting their monies on time. But look up to date. This is now the 24th year now. We've been struggling over the same issue. So we don't know exactly. Our lawyer is saying everything is well. But it is well. When is it well?
So abantu sibatugenzela so bambili abantu bakuru sibalefera so sabetezopempa poma new Dawn triste yatanga nako jana kuti abantu bashitakwati mabuti bena wazatu basira kuwali so chabetezopempa new Dawn tinga tuonganaepo.
Godfrey Waria is their group chairperson.
I've been hearing these stories of it is well, you will be paid, but up to now, they have not been paid. If you remember, this same group camped at the Ministry of Justice for 5 months, and of which that was under the PF regime. Now with hope in this new Dawn government, they are eager and so, expectant to see that they are paid their monies. If you can see, these are old men and women who are supposed to be resting by now. They have only remained with a few years on earth. So if government can pay them, not just saying it is well, then that will be of help to these our parents.
Meanwhile, when contacted, Minister of Justice Mlambo Haimbe declined to comment, saying the matter is currently in court.
That matter is in court. I can't discuss it.
Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Thank you very much. Two reports there by Vincent. One talking to the issue of retrenchees that separated with government in 1997, 1998, and 99. And the other one was talking about the El Nino that is expected to hit most parts of Southern Africa, and how farmers should prepare themselves as regards that particular matter. Now, moving on, let's quickly look at another story, and this one says opposition patriots for economic progress President Sean Tembo has been arrested for a speech which he posted on a social media Facebook page contrary to the law. Now, Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwadi confirmed to Camnet TV that opposition leader has been detained for hate speech contrary to Section 65 of the Cyber Security and Cyber Crimes Act. Mr. Mwale says the suspect is alleged to have posted hate speech on October 17th, 2023 at 21:31 on Facebook under the name Sean E. Tembo. Meanwhile, some stakeholders have condemned the manner in which Mr. Tembo was arrested and challenged law enforcers to be professional. Let's have a look at this report.
Just like in the past, opposition political parties continue to fight running battles with police officers. For Sean Tembo, this is not the first time he has faced an arrest, and in most cases, his arrests have been linked to his Facebook postings. The case is no different, as a post Mr. Tembo allegedly made on 17th October 2023 has landed him in the hands of law enforcers, despite him making several attempts for the police to wait for his lawyers to be present at the time of the arrest.
So I told you, just wait for my lawyers. My lawyers will be here shortly. My lawyers will be here shortly. I told you, wait for my lawyers. Eh? Wait for my lawyers. You want to kidnap me to come and torture me again? Just wait for my lawyers. I told you that. Eh? My lawyers are on the way. Wait for them. Why can't you wait for 5 minutes?
According to the confirmation of arrest by Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale, police allegedly broke into the house of the opposition leader after he failed to respond to a call-out for him to report himself to police headquarters on October 23, 2023. Mr. Mwale says efforts to contact his lawyer did not bear fruit, and police were forced to go to his residence around 9 hours and requested Mr. Tembo to come out, but opted to lock himself inside the house, forcing the police to gain entrance using force.
At 20:31 hours, the suspect posted a hate speech on Facebook page under the name of Sean E. Tembo. Police officers today, around 09 hours, went to his house where he was requested to come out, but instead he opted to lock himself inside the house, forcing the officers to have no option but to gain entrance into his house.
Meanwhile, some stakeholders, such as the leader of the National Democratic Congress, Saboye Mboila, and civil rights activist Brebna Changala, have condemned the manner in which Mr. Tembo was arrested and challenged law enforcers to be professional. They allege that the police have continued acting on directives while disregarding the laid-down procedure.
It is unbecoming the way the police are raiding people's homes, especially individuals with fixed support. And most importantly, what the police have done to Sean Tembo's property, that is vandalism and state intrusion. If Mr. Tembo had committed an offense, there was going to be a better way, civilized way, in which to effect an arrest. This is a new dawn that came on the platform of change.
You know, our homes are not only there. You know, we don't only stay in our homes alone as politicians. We've got children in there. People have got wives. People have got husbands in their homes. So it's very, very unprofessional for the police to keep on doing what they're doing. And we saw the video, the way they were trying to break his door. So that's totally unprofessional and totally unacceptable.
Police have also arrested former Ministry of Defense Permanent Secretary Stadi Mwale for the offense of seditious practices contrary to Section 57 as read with Section 60 of the Penal Code. Allegations are that between October 12, 2023 and October 17, 2023, Mr. Mwale posted an audio on various social media platforms where he instructed millers in the country to stop the production of billy meal for 30 days and other sentiments meant to entice the millers to rise against the government. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Interesting developments coming through as regards the arrest of patriots for economic progress. President Sean Tembo, who was picked up by police yesterday. Patrick?
Indeed, it is a story of interest causing the political landscape in that I think we are seeing, contrary to the pronouncements of President Hakainde Hichilema,
Sure.
I think such, regardless of the situation, such activities tend to dent the image of the administration. I understand even Mr. Tembo, I think, was not right to ignore the call out.
Sure, sure.
But the manner in which that was done, I think, is also traumatizing to the children, especially, and the family, you understand. Mr. Tembo may be used to these kind of scenarios, but I don't think his family deserves that. So I think some of these things, I think they need a little bit of civility in the manner we handle them, and that is very important. But however, I think as politicians, I think they also tend to play to the gallery. And if it is Mr. Tembo, this is not the first time, Kozi, that is been arrested for similar posts. And if you go through his Facebook page, he keeps on taking on President Hakainde Hichilema in a provocative manner. I hope you understand what I mean.
Sure.
Sometimes I think and presidential, given that he's an aspiring president, and presidential, but everything there goes on his Facebook page.
Civil.
They are not civil, yeah. So again, practicing politics of civility is something we should also take seriously as a country.
Sure.
So regardless of the situation, I think there's a better way to address someone, to say, cause you're not doing this.
Sure. So I did see the post that was posted on the 17th of October. Actually, when I saw that post, I was like, so what?
So what? Isn't there a better way of writing that post?
Yes.
But you have to write it so childishly and
he had
and so and language that is
He had to me he had a point, but the way he stressed it out. And you know, this is a democracy. People can. He was talking about Melemio. People can. That's a public matter. People can give their opinions and their thoughts. But I think that there is need, as you have put it, to embrace politics of civility in this day and age. There's
because that language, because it's been emulated by our children.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the right language to be using?
And you know, one funny thing is that social media, you can't, when you post, it's already out of your hands.
Yes.
Whoever can see it.
Now, as someone wants to become president, is this the kind of language that you want people to be referring to?
Yeah.
And in an event you also become a president, is that the language you're going to be entertaining from others? I think we need to be like politics of civility are important, where they are issue based, and we also focus. We also look at our moral fiber as a country. Are we losing it all?
Sure.
In the midst of emulating foreign or Western cultures, do we have to lose it all? I don't think we need to. We are advancing too much.
The PEP leader could have made that mistake, but still, the way I think he was picked up, we could have done better.
Yes, on the picking up aspect, I agree with you. There's a better way to address to address that. Besides, they were at his premises. They could have waited for him. What for the same
because
lawyer?
He kept on saying, "My lawyer will be here."
So if we are giving you and your lawyer 30 minutes.
30 minutes, or even an hour.
An hour. Let your lawyer come.
Yeah.
You give those allowances. You understand?
Yes.
Then again, he was summoned. Some of these things, you know, like spread for pertaining to public figures. He was summoned. I don't think we were privy to that, that they summoned him.
Yes.
So even when we are covering this story, the police just look like they are just doing things with impunity. You understand?
Yeah.
Because what is happening there is what people are seeing at the moment, and not the previous action that they undertook.
Sure.
So even when they make these attempts, probably just even do a statement or a conference where we are summoning this leader, opposition leader, in connection, and so that people are also aware of this person. And this person, if they are failing to hand themselves in, I think the right action should be taken.
Sure.
I understand Mr.
Sure.
Stadi Mwale also was summoned. He appeared before the police. So, Kozi, these are things I think that we need to manage very well as a democracy. I think creating such scenarios are not good for this administration, because President Hakainde Hichilema is keen to make Zambia as a nation that is in the League of Nations, the way he calls it. And among the attributes of a country like Zambia is good governance and democracy.
Sure.
Now, with such actions, take away the merits of good governance and commitment to steer democratic tenets. So now, how do we then progress? So so sometimes I tend to think police tend to work against the aspirations of the head of state. I tend to think like that.
You see, I think that the police would have given Sean a benefit of doubt, since he was claiming that the lawyer was coming. They give him, okay, we'll give you 45 minutes, we'll give you 10 minutes, we'll give you 30 minutes, or let's talk to your lawyer ourselves. Give us the contact, we talk to the lawyer so that we see if truly he's coming, as you are putting it. If truly you have communicated to him, he's on his way to break into his house like we did, like we saw. I think that that is something else. This happened in some years back when they went to the now president, a community house. The police broke into that house.
Yeah, and I think he's also succeeding to create the same narrative that our current president has gone through. I hope you understand what I mean.
Sure.
Because the President Hichilema's community house was broken into.
Yes.
They tear gassed him from the, and that's the same thing that is happening. But are we learning from the past? And if you see how those attributes were, when the president talks about them, you see how he feels bad that such a thing would happen. And he said he doesn't want such things to happen to somebody else.
Yes.
But the same things are happening.
That is about the arrest of the PEP leader, Sean Tembo, who was picked up by police yesterday. We were looking at that particular story. And now, if you want to give us your thought on what we are looking at this morning, you can go to our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV, and then leave your comments on the comment section of this particular broadcast. We'll be more than happy to see what you think and what your thoughts are on some of the matters that we are looking at this beautiful Thursday morning. Patrick.
Interesting. Now, let's have a look at our story of discussion before we usher in our guest, where we have stories pertaining to the Patriotic Front. And Matelo, Member of Parliament, Mount Sampa, has denied being sponsored by the United Party for National Development, UPND, to hold the Patriotic Front PF Extraordinary Convention, which declared him as a party president. PF Chairperson Information and Publicity, Emmanuel Mwamba, has alleged yesterday that the UPND sponsored Mr. Sampa to disturb the former ruling party by causing the formation of parallel structures. And speaking during a press conference Wednesday, Mr. Sampa argued that he is being empowered by the party constitution, which has been abrogated. And meanwhile, Mr. Sampa says he has begun the process of changing the names of office bearers at the Registrar of Societies following the extraordinary conference held on Tuesday. Let us have a look at this story and another story where the Lusaka High Court has restrained Matelo Area Member of Parliament Mao Sampa from holding himself as a PF-elect president of until the determination of the case, where Mr. Rafael Nakachinda of the same party has commenced an injunction against him. Mr. Sampa has also been kept from going to the Registrar of Societies to effect any changes in relation to the party office bearers. The court has also set 21st November 2023 as date in which it will hear the inter-party hearing of the application. So now this is where it goes now pertaining to the PF issues. So let us have a look at those two stories, and we'll be back on the other side.
Barely 24 hours after being elected as president of the opposition Patriotic Front Party, Matero area member of parliament Mao Sampa's celebration has been cut short. The opposition Patriotic Front Party has rushed to the Lusaka High Court to stop its expelled member from acting as president. Mr. Sampa has been dragged to court by Mr. Raphael Nakachinda to stop him from masquerading as party president and transacting in the name of the party. The Lusaka High Court has granted the application and restrained Mr. Sampa from holding himself as party leader until determination of the case. Mr. Nakachinda sued Mr. Sampa in his capacity as Secretary General of the party. Lawyer to the plaintiff, Makebi Zulu, explains.
Now, he's not a member of PF anymore based on the new circumstances. And he will remain not a member until the court orders otherwise, if the court sees it fit. Because he's been expelled, and the injunction is to the extent that he should not hold himself out as a member of the party anywhere or a functionary of the party. That's what the injunction says. And the matter will be heard inter partes, that is with him, in November, on the 21st of November. That is the next time. In the meantime, he remains not a member of PF. And the National Assembly has been informed of the same.
According to a statement of claim, the party has requested the court to declare null and void the General Convention held on the 24th of October 2023, contending that it was in breach of the party's constitution. In speaking after filing the injunction, PF Vice President Given Luvinda had this to say.
Is the mighty patriotic front, and it cannot be moved by little chongololos like you, Miles Sampa. Now we have expelled you, and we want to even tell you, don't even dare go to parliament. Stay away, because if you want, come to court to come and challenge our decision to expel you. Yes. We gave you the opportunity to save the people of Matero. Instead of saving them, you want to destroy the hopes of the people that elected you. That will not allow you to do, Miles Sampa. Now I want to warn you, Miles Sampa. Even the resources that you borrowed from the party, the resources you borrowed from the leaders of the party, bring them back quickly. Because now we'll start taking you to court for all the property you're holding which belongs to members of this party. You're holding our property which we gave to you to use in your campaign, and you don't want to even give it back to us. Now this is a war with you. We declare war on you. Miles Sampa.
The Lusaka High Court has also restrained Mr. Sampa from going to the Registrar of Societies to effect any changes. The court has since set the 21st of November 2023 as date in which it will hear the inter-party hearing of the application. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Kamne TV News.
After pulling off a dramatic extraordinary conference, Matero Member of Parliament Mao Sampa has vowed to commence party mobilization. Mr. Sampa was on Tuesday declared PF President during an extraordinary party conference held at Mulungushi Conference Center in Lusaka. The hosting of the event resulted in PF's acting president, Given Lubinda, expelling Mr. Sampa from the party in what has now become a tug of war for the party's leadership. Addressing the media, Mr. Sampa disclosed that he has commenced the process of changing PF office bearers with the Registrar of Societies.
One of them, we're giving back the party to the people. She's from Kasama, and we put a name there to be one of the office bearers. So we are waiting to the Registrar of Society for their final determination, but we've finished all the processes. And to most of our members or the people we're associating with, it's easy to pass the fingerprints. We have no corruption cases, we have no criminal cases. So fingerprints.
The outspoken lawmaker has also downplayed a court injunction preventing him from posing as party president, as he denied being sponsored by the United Party for National Development, UPND.
They started a long time. Expulsion, where is it? Suspend, where is it gone? because the constitution is on our side. Yes. So ngakulika chairman nakakulembere nkalata just lepulen. What is sponsoring us is the PF constitution. Is what is sponsoring us. We are on solid grounds. What is sponsoring us is the Zambia constitution, Article 60, that wants democracy. That's what is sponsoring us.
Meanwhile, government and UPND through spokesperson Cornelius Mwetwa have denied sponsoring the PF conference, which declared Mr. Sampa party president.
State House, and particularly the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, the head of state for the Republic of Zambia, was not in any way involved in the PF convention. That convention arises out of their own intra-party agreements, intra-party arrangements, on the basis of their rules and regulations and their constitution.
As at broadcast time, the Registrar of Societies had not responded to a press query over Mr. Sampa's claims that he has commenced changing names of PF office bearers. For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
Well, there you have it. That was Mr. Mao Sampa, who had declared himself as the PF president following a general conference he held on Tuesday. And we were wondering how quick it was held. And interesting enough, events have continued to unfold. But right about now in studio, we have been joined by someone from the Patriotic Front to help us discuss this issue and other governance matters happening in the country. And to just get started, our guest today is Mr. Edwin Ifekwero. He is the PF Media Director. Welcome to the program, sir.
So grateful, Soko. So grateful, sir, for inviting me to this program this morning.
Interesting. To just get started, first of all, Mr. Ifekwero, these events, first of all, that we saw now, Mr. Sampa holding a convention. First of all, bring us up to speed regarding what is the party thinking like and what is happening.
I don't know. We are all surprised, I must say, what's happening to just a little bit, to a larger extent. But ultimately, I think we are aware of the confusion that is being generated by individuals that would want to bring confusion to the party. It's normal. For a bigger political party like PF, you have got normal people. You have also people that you can equate as abnormal. It's like in a home, the parent will accept the character of every child in a home. So the party being bigger than an individual, and the party PF, which was in the government, I think our expectation is that yes, we're expecting such kind of confusion. But ideally, I think also what is soothing is that we are guided by, like I've heard that clip we were running, Mao saying that we are guided by the constitution. That's what is sponsoring us. Our party constitution is very clear. For example, how to hold a general conference. I'm sure you have had a clips, or maybe you have had an opportunity to look at our party constitution. Who are the members who are supposed, for example, to form the electoral college to the general conference? All the councillors of the Patriotic Front are members of the General Conference. All the members of Parliament, all of them, not just one member of Parliament we saw in the name of Robert Chavinga, who was casting his vote at that General Conference. Where were the other members of Parliament? So those are the questions that the public must be asking. Because to hold a General Conference, if Mao Sampa, for example, the one, of course, was assumed as a factional leader of the so-called PF faction, genuinely followed the rules and genuinely and passionately is a genuine member of the Patriotic Front, we would have expected to see a lot of, you know members of the Patriotic Front, a lot of them, including the senior leadership that is currently in place and members of Parliament and councillors. So if you don't see those, then you know that there is a problem somewhere. And that's where we are. And the speed also, in which one that want to fight within the Patriotic Front, the manner that the police acted in giving Mao Samba express, permission that he must proceed to have the general conference also tells you a question. And who is Mao Samba, for example, to be given that hold of police officers at a general conference? What are you scared of? If indeed it's a normal general conference, why would you bring police to come and man the event? It means that something is amiss somewhere. So those are the issues that the public must interrogate. But a number of things have happened arising from that suspension. Remember, there was a suspension that was effected on Mao's, and a number of our senior leaders also for disciplinary matters that were before the disciplinary committee. And subsequently arising from that coup d'etat, I might call it, which in my opinion, from the political perspective, it's treasonable. It's like in UPND, someone just waking up and saying, I'm going to hold a general conference. Just imagine someone, just a member or even an MP in UPND, just I'm having a general conference, proceeds, he holds a general conference. What would be the reaction of the UPND? So those are the issues. So let us be real. And I think that in debating these issues, let's bring in the reality. What's the reality aspect?
But why there's been, we saw Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, who is also part of your department, communication.
Yes.
He was expressing concern that Mr. Samba is being sponsored. Why do you feel that Mr. Samba is being sponsored? And who is sponsoring him?
Remember that there was a circulation. Before even this so-called general conference that was being held, there was a notice that was circulated that members of the Patriotic Front were being called for a retreat. I don't know whether you followed. Initially, they said they want to have a retreat. And remember, this so-called general conference was supposed to have been held somewhere. But again, they were not given that permission. Came to Lusaka, used the Mulungoshi, of course, here they were given. The reason why we believe that Mao Samba is being sponsored is the fact that there have been a lot of pronouncements that have been made by UPND. In particular, the spokesperson of UPND himself, one, who made it very clear that is one of those that he is sponsoring confusion in the party because they don't want the party PF to survive. Beyond 2026, they shudder to imagine UPND must be on the ballot. So we are aware, we have information, and I'm sure at the right time, we'll be able to avail the public the information that we have that is leading for us to give you that scenario that our brother, unfortunately, is being sponsored. For example, even the same issue of the security I just mentioned, you can only be given security, state security, if that security is sanctioned by the Minister of Home Affairs. So my assumption is that when you apply, remember we applied, we wanted to have a rally, and we were told that was no, for security reasons, they could not provide security. But they proceeded to stop us from holding the rally in Matero. Last time we wanted to have a rally. But to see an individual of the party who is a member of parliament, and by virtue of just basically the pronouncer, it's not the first time. Remember, at some point he went to secretariat, stormed secretariat, damaged property at secretariat. The party reported to the Zambia police. To date, nothing has happened. Okay? If it was any other individual, I can assure you they would have been arrested. They would have been in the cells by now, even in chokes. But for Mao's, it's very clear that the system is supporting him and they cannot take any action based on that. So that incident is one of the incidents. And remember, he declared himself, even before this general conference, Mao Samba declared himself that he has taken over secretariat and that is the president of the Patriotic Front. Who does that? With impunity. Who does that? And for why are we in a hurry? The issue at hand is, yes, we are aware that some of these issues are being generated from the premise that yes, there's been a delay with regard to holding the general conference. But in order to hold a general conference, it's not a matter of just waking up in the morning and then you say, let's have a general conference. There are a number of issues, factors that must come into consideration. One of them is the one we are dealing with at the moment, the Constitution. Remember, we're supposed to have a constitutional conference to deal with the deficiencies in that Constitution. Two, after losing power in 2021, you are aware, so-called, that the number of people that have moved on. So in order for you to know who are the real bona fide members of the party must do an introspection, an inventory to ensure that the people that you are taking to the General Conference are the right people. So the Electoral College, to avoid litigations of someone taking you to court that delegates were manufactured, which has happened before. Someone can stand up and question the legitimacy of the delegates that have been manufactured. Like we saw, those delegates that appeared, some of them were standing as presidential candidates, and we have information because we have our members. Some of our members, just general members, some of them were suspended. They've been coming to the secretariat. One of them, as a matter of fact, was a driver who was standing as a presidential candidate in this general conference, which Mausamba was holding. So even the number of the people, Monga, Lloyd Monga, many others, I'm sure you've seen statements flying of people saying that I'm not a member of the patriotic front and stuff. So all those illegalities give ground for the party to go to court and question the legitimacy of the party as to why someone is in a hurry to have a general conference. And also arising from the fact that the Registrar of Society gave political parties, of course it was an illegal directive, but you are aware that they gave the political parties 60 days, which we are also going to contend. Our lawyers are going to court to contend that directive from the Registrar of Society, which we know that under normal circumstances and under our laws, the Registrar of Society have got no powers whatsoever to direct a political party toward the General Conference. And in any case, if that those powers, they would have directed, when we were in power, they would have directed UPND, because UPND, other than President Hakainde Hichilema beating Takuba Scotta in the last General Conference, I don't know where you're sitting, if you remember anywhere, anytime, where UPND went to a General Conference. They were in opposition almost 20 years, 23 years. Last time you saw UPND go to General Conference was when Sata was, it was when Takuba Scotta was hounded out.
So now, Mr. Ifuga, the argument would be, if it was wrong under UPND, maybe they went away with the wrong because the PF did not pay attention.
No.
Now
I'll give you reasons why I'm saying it is wrong.
Yeah. But now it may be. It may remain wrong because I think the provision for the Registrar of Society is that also societies must also comply to the rules and regulations.
Oh yeah, I totally agree that yes, there are rules and regulations. Just the same way you don't compare a political party now. We are trying to bring legislation to ensure that funding itself is regulated for a political party. If it was the aspect that government gives you funding, like we have been fighting under the constitutional commissions and reviews, remember there have been submissions by members of the public that there must be funding for political parties, arising from many, many other submissions that have been given. If it were the case, then government would be on firm ground to direct political parties that they must hold a general conference. Yes, by virtue of our democratic tenets, it's important that you support the intra-political politics of political parties, yes. And political parties must be encouraged to have intra-democracy within them. Yes, that's correct. But the fact that we know that there's been an SI that was generated by the Minister of Home Affairs to give the Registrar of Society, which was not there. The fact is it was not there. To give them so that you strengthen the Registrar of Society, that now you have given them powers that they must compel political parties. It doesn't work that way. And in any case, when there's any legislation that has to be done, it has to come to Parliament. Parliament must debate any amendment, any repealing of any constitution. Parliament must be given that leverage for them to debate. But just wake up in the morning, do a letter, and then direct political parties. We know that the target is PF anyway. At the end of the day, they're targeting the patriotic front. And these are the issues the Zambian people have been crying. That even when we were in power, so you bring out a law just to target an individual. It happened also when Kaunda was barred from politics because somebody brought a law, and they even brought the aspect of degree, that for a presidential candidate to stand, they must have a degree. Remember that provision, targeting an individual. But because of all those things you have mentioned, which we know that then it was wrong then, maybe there were illegalities then why should it be accepted now? All those, if it was a wrong under us, it should be a wrong now. But the issue, the premise of my debate is that let's not bring legislation or laws that are just meant to suppress, induce, or just to buy a political party.
So yesterday we did hear the court tell Honorable Maus Sampa, to stop masquerading as
Yes.
PF president.
Yes.
But we did hear acting president also declaring war against
Maus Sampa. Yeah, but ideally, I cannot comment on the war that was declared. I think that was an individual speech made by the acting president declaring war in the sense that it's not a real war, but war in the sense that you must fight. Because issues of democracy really border on issues of life and death. For political parties to survive, we must harness opposition political parties. So if an individual is playing around with the political semantics, playing political gymnastics, at the end of the day, you must take them of who they are and be able to fight. We cannot allow illegalities to continue because the government does not like PF and because they are geared and are resolved that the PF must not be on the ballot, and hence all this maneuvering of whatever that is happening. So that being the case, I think that we have a right as Patriotic Front to defend ourselves, a right also to seek litigation redress from the courts, so that these issues can be put in perspective by the courts, so that some of this hullabaloo and the drama that we are seeing, which are being created by individuals, are not there. In fact, if there's anyone who must be causing confusion in PF, it must be me. You know very well that I'm the senior most member of the Patriotic Front Party.
But you, after losing power, the Patriotic Front went to the drawing board and they resolved that they want to rebrand the party.
Yes.
How have we found ourselves in this position?
No, you know, rebranding is an ongoing process. It's not a one-off thing that you wake up in the morning and then you rebrand.
Exactly.
In rebranding, you have old members and new members. And you cannot just discard individuals that because we are rebranding, you go to the back seat. Even in issues of institutional, those people that have institutional memory for the party, you cannot just throw them out. Every one of us, individually or otherwise, collectively or otherwise, have a responsibility to the party. I, myself, being a member of the party, I must abide to the rules and regulations of the party.
There's a, okay, you can.
Yes.
There's a general feeling, Mr. Refreka, while you are responding to this question by Kozi. There's a general feeling that politicians are selfish because the idea is that if you had gotten organized and gone ahead to hold your convention, probably you would have been speaking about something else.
No.
But however, why am I saying so? Because mentioned an aspect of rebranding.
Yes.
The PF is not the first time that they are fighting a similar battle of this nature. Because I had the privilege that I was practicing journalism by the time the PF President Edgar Lungu was being elected at a general conference. I think Maus Sampa and the former President ECL were also in a similar confrontation prior to the convention. And we saw the convention also, it was actually conducted by way of also raising hands. Because, and again, there was no one to also challenge there. And I witnessed that convention. Prior to the selection as Edgar Lungu was the chosen one, we saw the people, the likes of Chishimba Kambwili, GBM. First of all, before they could come to terms, there was also that same fight that we are seeing now. Because there are others who have also gone ahead to say they want to represent the party at top level. Then there's also the story that is coming out that the former president wants to come back and recontest the presidency. Automatically, we know that he still has the larger following, Mr. Refekero. And now others are also challenging that they would want to lead the party. Don't you think those are also possible consequences that may be reoccurring in terms of the contestation of the top position?
No, it's normal. I think the political dynamics entail that where you have a number of people that have an interest, there will always be the same issues of contestation, or people wanting either to go to the top or becoming a president. I think that maybe we can remove former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu in the conversation, because I think that it's very clear from where President Edgar Chagwa Lungu is standing, apart from people who might be creating euphoria that he must come back and contest. But I think for us in the leadership of the party, we are concerned by the fact that for now there's never been any second opinion, and in fact there's nowhere where former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu said that he wants to come back, apart from people who have been making those pronouncements. Yeah, so the issue of whether Walungu will come back or not, I think that is not actually the issue, because where cabinet is sitting, they have a letter very clearly, categorically stating that he has gone on sabbatical leave. His only role for now is basically to come and hand over instruments of power to whoever will be elected, because according to the constitution, that's basically procedural. In terms of whether people are hungry, they have a lot of ambitions, whether they want to be presidents, I'm sure that once the General Conference sets the rules and regulations, and ideally we hold the General Conference and we elect a president, all these political semantics of whether one wants to contest the position of Secretary General or position of whatever will come into play, because whoever will become president at a time would have the privilege now of allowing even the issue. And besides, remember, where the last convention elected Lungu, despite the fact that yes, he has tendered his letter to the cabinet that he is no longer in politics. Remember, he still has a mandate to run up to 2026, because the number of Central Committee members who were elected still have a mandate that runs up to 2026, apart from other members of the party whose mandate has expired. And I think maybe as we draw up the Constitutional Conference, a number of those that are no longer, or I mean whose mandate have expired, will be subjected to an election, so they're elected. No one is being stopped from contesting elections, not even Mao Sampa. Remember, there are 9 presidential candidates that applied to stand as candidates for the party. No one has stopped them. And once the level playing field has been set, and all the issues of logistical issues, issues of ensuring that the electoral college is sorted out, I'm sure that we'll begin to see progress in terms of who is standing and who is not. The only problem that we've had is that the number of people have been, the anxiety, people have been anxious. And in any case, it's not true that there could be a leadership crisis in the PF, because currently we have people that are still standing and sitting in positions. Currently we have acting president. So if you say we don't have a president, maybe this is the reason we're having this. Is someone standing there as acting president. We have Secretary General there who has been put there, of course. And at some point, probably when we have the General Conference, there will be different dynamics that will be at play there. So I think that to imagine and to say that people are being stopped because they're envisaging that they might not stand at the General Conference, I think is not right. I think let us exercise a little bit of patience from where we are sitting. I think that the acting president, Lubinda, Secretary General, they are as anxious as the members of the party to ensure that we get to the General Conference and elect the leadership of the party.
People feel they are enjoying the acting positions, and
no,
maybe they can be
asking me who is sitting there. It's not easy, because there's a lot of personal sacrifice currently that is happening within the Patriotic Front. It's not easy, and people think that there's money sitting there, and the reason why people want to hold on to those positions is because there are resources that they're able to access. That's not a position. Remember where we are coming from, that immediately we lost elections, all our seats were petitioned. Councillors, members of parliament, all of them were petitioned. We spent the first 6 months, 8 months paying lawyers, managed to ensure that people retained their seats as councillors. And fortunately, I can say that yes, a number of them retained their seats. A number of members of parliament have retained their seats. But you know, councillors, lawyers don't just give counsel for free. All those were paid for.
We thought you had members who are lawyers, and that it is a sacrifice, just like those who are acting would be also sacrificing for the party.
Lawyers, yes, who provide.
They are not pro bono service, because you have some of the credible lawyers we have.
It's what I'm saying. I'm coming to that. There are certain lawyers who would provide pro bono services, who are there, who just say it is well, I'll do it. But you know that there are costs, a lot of costs that are involved in just preparing documents for courts and stuff. So at least you have to meet them halfway. There are also other lawyers, because there are certain battles where lawyers have got their own also special faculties in terms of specialization, where you have to bring in other lawyers who will not actually succumb to say that they're going to provide free services. And the party must pay for that, and we've been paying for that. That's where most of the resources are going. Even to organize this General Conference we are talking about now, because you know the politics of Africa. When you are not there, when you are in power, you have all these business people around you because they know that you are in power. The moment you are not there, the man just stands up and says, no one must give money to the Patriotic Front. And it's happening now. A number of people have been intimidated. And for you to organize resources, it's quite a very big task, but we are praying and hoping that we'll get there and be able to organize a general conference that will be effective, that will be legitimate. Not that general conference we saw, where people were picked from the markets and bus stations and taken there to start. Yes, bus stations, because I can't even recognize any face there.
Some of the members.
Some of the members there, apart from some of UPND members that were masqueraded as PF members.
Well, our dear viewers, in case you are just joining us, you are watching the Community Breakfast Show interview, and in studio we have Mr. Edwin Alifwekelo. He is the PF Media Director and is helping us to discuss issues and unfolding in the former ruling party. And in case you want to join the conversation, you can do so by giving us that call and want to hear your perspective. In case you have a question for our guest this morning, those of you watching us on our Facebook page, you can equally do the same by leaving us a message on our Facebook page, and we'll be glad to read it out. And now, moving on the program, let's have a look at this, Mr. Alifwekelo. Would you be fearful? I know you are a seasoned politician yourself. Would you be fearful that the confusion that has been orchestrated may also lead to the fate that other major political parties suffered, like the MMD?
I think that the reality is that we all must be cautiously optimistic. Yeah, you cannot just say that if there's confusion, it is well, we are intact, whatever. Any element of confusion has also got an element of distraction. So if you have distraction of people going to court, masquerading, now they've taken over the party and whatever, of course, you even when there are still waters there, you'll find that there will be a lot of mud and confusion that is created in the process. And ideally, I might be stronger, but a general member of the party might not be stronger. So what they see and what they read and what they hear, sometimes they begin their weakness. Some people are not strong and they might just succumb to such kind of matter. Our thinking is that ultimately we need to strengthen ourselves, and even where we are sitting, I think the donor community, the public in general know that we need a very strong opposition political party. And how do we strengthen an opposition political party? Is by ensuring that you support them financially and strengthen the structures so that ultimately we are able to provide the much needed checks and balances, the much needed oversights in Parliament, for example, where the government is. If at all PF dies today, I can assure you that democracy also dies, because we need PF just like we need other opposition political parties to be able to stand and speak and not go back to the old colonial aspect of the UNIP days where you have only one political party. We are in a multi-party facet, so I think it's important that we strengthen political party. So yes, we are fearful, but at the same time we are strengthened by the fact that yes, when we look at basically what is happening in terms of the constitutional provisions, we are standing on firm ground in terms of what is needed to happen. Let's have a general conference, but let this general conference not be clouded in confusion and then disregarding even the rules and procedures that must be followed by the party. There are rules and regulations, and someone cannot just stand and decide today I'm the president of the party, and then the party must just go to sleep. And Monday, for PF, the dynamics are also very different, because we also have almost 58 members of parliament who are there. So any distraction of the smooth operation of the party also affects the strength of the members of parliament who are in parliament, who are giving oversight.
Interesting. So now, the other thing, Mr. Alifwekelo, would be that you mentioned an interesting aspect while you were explaining. I understand there's been calls that political parties should be regulated in the aspect of how the source of funding, especially for campaigns. I'm bringing this one to your attention because we saw a recent meeting that was held by TIZ and Zambia Center for Interparty Dialogue, where they were putting forth this aspect, because they say political parties are the ones that have a mandate to form government. So there shouldn't be a substitute in terms of when it comes to a good corporate governance, for example. So all those tenets should be followed for a political party, where because this is a political party, a government in waiting.
That's right.
So why shouldn't they be transparent on how they raise their resources or their funding? Now, I don't know what has been the perspective of the PF on this subject, because equally the PF should be still facing charges regarding to the source of funding, to say, where did you get your campaign financing? However, this is not applying to every other political party, like UNIP, or let's say the party for Harikara that contested the election.
Yes.
They are not being asked the same question to say, where did you get your the source of funding? Do you think this general rule should be made a general rule for every political party, or should just be for a few political parties?
Ideally, when you make an undertaking that political parties must be funded, I think it's a debate that has been raging for some time now. Under the number of constitutional reviews, the Constitutional Conference, Mungomba, Chona, Mvunga, NCC, there were recommendations that democracy is expensive and political parties must be strengthened. We are aware that a lot of political parties in this country, after all, I think that if I had a way, some of the political parties, it's just the aspect that yes, democracy must exist. Other people would argue that if you kill even smaller political parties that have no representation in the councils and members of parliament, then we're killing democracy. I think that has been the argument. But also, the process also has become porous in the sense that I can wake up in the morning as a Fuekero and bring in my wife as treasurer. I'll bring my children also as committee members, and then we'll be able to access resources. Okay, that's assuming that there's that provision of accessing resources. So the idea there that you might just be giving money, taxpayers' money, that is being thrown out. But I know that to cure that, there have been submissions that for now, if you are funding political parties, let it be done on the basis of representation.
Those that have
representation in parliament, members of parliament, and those that have representation as councillors. But there are also other dynamics on the electoral process, I think, which is happening behind the scenes. That also we must also start making consideration on the marginalized in society, people with a disability, the youths, the women. And I think that from the submissions that have been made in the constitutional reviews, there have been that aspect of saying that let's have a mixed representation or proportional representation, where deliberately you are saying there will be 20 seats for youth, 20 seats for the women. But currently, the current law, of course, does not compare any political party. Even those that are appearing in court, of course, those matters are in court. I know one of our senior members is appearing in court on the basis that they are being asked where funding was done. But surprising enough, I haven't seen any undertaking from the UPND in terms of asking where they got their funding in the last general elections. No one is asking. But of course, the attempts are being made that political parties, they must be regulated and ensure that we know, because some people have submitted that monies that come into the country can be tied to certain issues that donors might bring into society. And so to avoid that, we don't want terrorist money to end up being in political parties.
Exactly.
Especially that political parties are the ones that have got that responsibility. Yes, it's a debate. The Patriotic Fund haven't taken a position as to whether, yes, they will subscribe to the issue of funding, that it must be regulated, and by law, political parties must. And I'm sure at a certain debate under ZCID and TIZ and many others were pushing for that agenda. But I think it's good also in the sense that you want to strengthen.
Before you explain further, Mr. Rifokele, let's speak this call. You are through to the Camneta Breakfast Show. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, and how are you, sir?
This is John Dara.
Mr. John,
from
you can go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Kozo.
Good morning, sir.
Ande niketile mzuri chwani. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm grateful that I've gone through. I've been trying the lines of the discourse.
Oh.
Let me first start with the Shane Table. Yes, I think the Shane Table was not honest enough to the police. Remember what the President HS went through when he was in opposition?
Yes.
There was no notice or not even a call. So the police went there to destroy his property at his residence. That one was understood. And the police, if you remember that time, also condemned. So for short tempo, he was called. So the guy said to stay home. And also the police confirmed that we called him. He was not willing to comply to the police call out. Hence, the police had to move him, and they moved him out from that house was hiding. Why was the same act not done to State Mali? State Mali was called, and he complied according to the police command. So let us not blame the police on something, let's blame him. When it comes to the PF, all these randoms that are in PF, they are internal randoms that are being frustrated by the PF themselves. Don't look outside the box. Look inside within yourselves, Mr. Kekelo. If you remember President Lungu when he lost power, few weeks or few months, he wants to catch the death of his body. But up to now, the people have failed to go back to the convention. Why? Because the Nakachinda is there illegally. If you look at the constitution, all the positions like for Mr. Davis Tam, of the former PF Secretary General, he resigned. So of which his position can only be replaced after the General Conference. So what Mount Stampa is trying to preach is looking at the PF Constitution. If you leaders are not following, and if you remember the quote, they told you that Nakachinda and Gideon are there illegal. And then today they went to the Speaker of the National Assembly telling that no, telling her that Mount Stampa has been expelled. I think there's an infection in court again. Do you think that the Speaker is going to entertain that nonsense? So I think as we can direct this issue, let's also look at the rumors that are happening within yourselves, the PF. Otherwise, if we're not careful, the PF is there in action day. By this time, you are supposed to have moved on. Okay? So thank you very much for the contribution.
Thank
we
you.
don't want the PF to die. Please go back to the drawing board and come up to the General Conference so that we move on as a part of the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution, sir. You too can join Mr. John by giving us your contribution on the program, and we will be glad to hear your perspective regarding our topic of discussion. Mr. Ifekero, you can respond to
yes, I made a number of substantive comments. I think one that I'm recalling vividly is basically when he's saying that Nakachinda and acting President Lovinda, I don't remember where there's been a ruling that from the courts that the position of acting President Lovinda and Nakachinda are sitting there illegally. There hasn't been such a ruling. And let me also hasten to say that most of the appointments that have been made by, apart from the position of national chairman, acting President Lovinda, were elected by the former president as he was resigning and stuff. A number of these positions that have been created, including that of Mao Sampa. Remember, Mao Sampa was appointed chairman of local government by acting President Lovinda, and a number of positions were also created for administrative purposes. I also want to assume that the position of Secretary General Nakachinda, for now, is for purposes of administrative, is a Secretary General. But substantively, I would want to believe that even those calls from the public that whoever that will be elected as president will have to pick his own Secretary General will come into play. But ideally, you cannot run in a vacuum. And I think what the acting president did was to fill those positions in administrative purposes to ensure that you have a Secretary General running the Secretariat as well as the two Deputy Secretary General, including himself who is in acting position. Because remember, he's not president, he's just basically sitting in based on the powers that was given by the former president Edgar Chagwa Lungu, that he must act in that position, not until we have the General Conference. He mentioned the issue of that we must look inside ourselves. These battles that are happening. Yes, we are not, we haven't closed our eyes in sand to imagine that we are not looking at what is happening around us. We have an idea where this thing is being generated from. But also, let's also not lose sight of the fact that enemies who always take advantage where there's a problem. So where they see that there is infighting, which is being created by individuals who are not satisfied with the processes of what is happening, enemies will always jump. After all, people have said publicly, like I use that example, where some senior member of the party has announced publicly that they would want to see PF annihilated. They don't want to see PF on the ballot in 2026. And this is why the president, every time he's addressing a meeting, he can't resist that temptation of telling the Zambians that not to
could this be an attempt of giving the PF a taste of its own medicine? Because we saw the PF also enjoyed from the confusion in the MMD.
You like saying that. I don't even know why you're not a politician yourself. They're giving us a taste of our own medicine.
Because
it's normal.
You remember when the PF was they had the challenge prior to the election, and they had formed that formidable alliance with the MMD.
Yeah.
And the MMD was MMD Part 1, Part 2.
Yeah, it's normal. Now I'll tell you why. It's normal. Anyone can do it. Even those, I've not been in government personally myself, so I don't know what happens in government, unfortunately. But ideally, why do you want to go into government? You want to go into government. Any political party would want to form government and keep power. That is the whole idea.
The important aspect is keep power.
Keep power. So those are the dynamics of saying that even you are testing your own medicine when you are there.
Because these political strategies can be emulated sometimes. You understand?
100%. Like they are trying to do now to PF to create that MDC Zimbabwean scenario where you have two political parties fighting, and at the same time the whole idea is that they must be weakened, so you have factions within that. So it's a template that our brothers from UPN are trying to use also to try and bring confusion. But we don't blame them. Yeah, they were in opposition for a long time.
Are you not in a better place?
But as an experience,
no.
As an experience, political party that used that strategy before.
No, the dynamics I think are a little bit different. Yes, you have the experience, and I'm sure that with time, most of those experiences that our leadership have will come into play. Ideally, but it's not the same when you have instruments of power at your disposal, like what is happening currently, where you take someone individual to go and hold a general conference, give them police officers, protect him there. They are comfortable with that because they know that they are the ones that are in government.
Another interesting development we were likely to see, Mr. Ifwekero, is for example, the I know you have suspended those two members of parliament. In fact, there are three together with Mr. Sampa, those that are serving.
Which one?
Mungandu, Robert Chabinga,
yes.
and Mao Sampa.
Yes.
And for Mao Sampa, he has actually received an expulsion.
Subsequently, yes, arising from
the convention.
From that nonsense that happened.
Yes, he has received an expulsion. And that means that chances are high we may be going for a by-election. But this is also a cost undertaking.
But do you also recall that when Michael Sata was also leader of opposition under PF, the aspect of individuals feeling that they have more powers, like some members of parliament who were sponsored by the party. You know that most of those members of parliament in the House were sponsored by the party, either through finances. Of course, they can stand. I know I've had some of them that I use my own money. But ideally, the party had money and they sponsored them. So they are on that ticket based on the fact that the party sponsored them. So you cannot say when you're in parliament that my electoral college is a constituency and not the party. I think that we are economizing on the truth, and I think we're not being truthful. So ideally, yes, we are likely to see by-elections. That example I'm giving of late President Michael Sata, they expelled almost 22 members of parliament. Okay, even when there were very few members of parliament he had at that particular time. But 22 at a go were taken out, and they went to court.
Because
and they were expelled, and they were subsequent. I don't know whether they were by-elections or it was coming into the general election.
I know how far. I don't know how far your telescope has gone, Mr. Rifekero. But those that you have mentioned, we have also hosted some members of parliament who speak the same language, like those ones that have been suspended. We tend to feel
I'm aware.
We are speaking to an opposition member of parliament.
No, I'm aware. Apart, other than those, the three you have mentioned that have been suspended, there are a number of them. But watch the language from those members of parliament. Ideally, you'll be able to pick something. There are members of parliament, my own submission, I'm thinking that who are not used to being in the opposition. Who were in government, they've never been in the opposition before, you know that.
Yes.
Others became members of parliament when PF was in power. There've been no challenge. But the fact that they are in the opposition now and they know actually what happens when you belong to the ruling party, they would rather associate themselves with the ruling party. That should not be the motivation. But I'm aware, the reality will tell me that even when a member of parliament speaks of those that you are referring to, are saying, no, Constituency Open Fund is working in my constituents, and they will never criticize. Let's give an example of the current president, President Hakainde Hichilema. I do not recall when he was in opposition, President Hakainde Hichilema, one, attending any national function. Never. Standing on a platform and saying that yes, government has done it very well and I support him. Never. He was always on the other side. Whether there was water, whether there was food, whether whatever it was, he stood on the ground that there was nothing happening. It's basically poor leadership.
There was a time that the UPND youths attempted to attend the Youth Day celebrations together with...
a very unfortunate incident. I do remember that. No, I do remember that incident, yes. But again, that also goes back to the overzealousness of individuals, where power goes to your head. And you think the real dynamics should have been that even when we were in power, we should have allowed other players to also participate without their rights being infringed on. That is a fact. But again, that's the abuse we are talking about, which we are seeing even currently happening.
Mr. Rifekero, you have explained at length pertaining to the developments in the PF, which we wanted our viewers to get from, especially those of you who are inside. But we want to also pick your perspective on the current happenings in the country. 59 years after independence, and do you think as a country we are progressing economically? And your take on the current affairs pertaining to the subject of the cost of living. Are we seeing any improvement?
Would want, let me say, I know people think that when you are in the opposition we are callous, that we cannot appreciate what government is doing. From where we are sitting, we would want President Hakainde Hichilema to succeed. He must create that environment to be able to gather, bring knowledge. We have seen it in UK. We have seen it in America, where even this acrimony we see in Africa, where when you're in opposition, you're in opposition and you can mix with those that are in the ruling. But that perception, we must kill that. Okay? They would want to see a situation where members of the opposition parties are invited and people are able to attend. I was just giving an example of President Church himself. Even now, the aspect of him attending even national prayers. First time, of course, there was an excuse that no, he was not available. Second time, third time. So we know that the fact that he made pronouncements that National Day of Prayer is useless, I think he has stood by that premise that he will not compromise and go back to go and pray. And yet we know we all need prayers. We all need the national prayers, yes. So I think that even the Alewere issue, which people think is a PF issue, is not born of the fact that there are members that would want to see President Edgar Chagwalun coming and discussing the issue of cost of living. I think a lot of Zambians in general are giving this example of what they experienced under the PF. If Milimi under PF was 120 kwacha, where we left it, and people complained it was very expensive, remember? And we were removed from office because people said Milimi was very expensive, 120. What more with Milimi, even in the current pricing now, where you are saying we have reduced the Milimi now, I had some minister standard saying we have reduced Milimi to 208, it's now affordable. It's not. Because the reason why people removed PF at minimum at 120 was because it was expensive. How can minimum be cheaper now at 280 kwacha? How can be minimum be cheaper at 300 kwacha? So talking about the cost of living, the government must concentrate on dealing with this aspect of fuel, issues of meal, critical. Those are critical components in terms of the economic fundamentals, which must be dealt with government. The current scenario at the moment, you've been around, is that Zambians cannot afford meal. They cannot afford Nshima, and Zambians are suffering. They could have suffered under PF, but the dynamics currently are that it's worse now because the escalation of prices of commodities has gone extremely high, and nobody can afford that. So that's where we are now. So instead of killing democracy in PF or annihilating PF, I think that there's need for government to concentrate on issues of, for example, youth employment. There are a lot of youths are on the street.
Let me take you to another topic that is making rounds. The arrest of PEP leader Sean Tembo.
Yes.
I want to believe that you saw the statement that he made.
Yes.
On social media, and in the manner in which he was picked up.
Yes.
Because he was summoned and he did not assure the police. I know that you're running out of time, but quickly, what do you make?
The truth of the matter is that it's not the first time Sean Tembo is being arrested, just like a number of opposition leaders that have been arrested. And the president has made an undertaking. He's been on public platforms, President Hakainde Hichilema, where with his pronouncement he has directed that individuals must not be incarcerated for more than 48 hours. But we are seeing the opposite. We saw Secretary of Socialist Party, that young man from University of Zambia, being taken to Chongwe, and he was kept under custody almost for 14 days. We have seen that happening to Zumani before he was even brought to court. He stayed there for quite a long time. We are hearing on Sean, and it's not the first time he's being taken, wanted out, and arrested in the manner he's being arrested. But I think the information we have gathered is that he's being arrested for hate speech. I think that is the hypocrisy of the highest order. Because when you talk about hate speech, look at the announcement that was made by the Secretary General of UPND, Batuka Imenda. You're talking about hate speech, and if genuinely police are sincere that the arresting of opposition political parties is not selective, where you call a leader of the Catholic is the son of a devil. Okay.
We also had a recent issue pertaining to Wapula province.
Oh yeah, where you equate the people of Wapula. That the issue there, in terms of education, is they are just basically it's a poverty mind and stuff. I mean, that's you are picking a region, one region, and selectively you make a pronouncement that this backwardness is arising from the fact that these guys, generally, this is who they are. That is a hate speech. And if police are genuine, we expected Siakalima, the Minister of Education, to be arrested. We expected even West Steele, the Secretary General of UPND, with that pronouncement where you're calling somebody, likening him to a devil, to Satan. That's hate speech. They would have been arrested. But because you have the powers, the instruments, even the corruption itself, the corruption fight, where a number of people are being arrested past corruptions, but we're aware that there are a number of tenders that have been generated under this government, including cancellation of tenders, and a lot of elements of even the oil industry. A lot of scandals have come up, but we have not seen anyone, apart from that minister in Wapula, who was used as the sacrificial lamb to be removed as a minister. But we are aware that the issues surrounding there are even journalists who, I will not mention, who were with other institutions, with other platform, who have been taken out because of the statements they issued with regard to what they saw was wrong at that particular time. The same issues we are blaming PF that they closed Prime, they did what. We are seeing it happening even to the media. A number of, again, other journalists appearing now, they've been taken out from Daily Mail, and others because of a comment someone made, and someone thinks that they must be removed because State House believes they must be removed. Those things are wrong, and if they were wrong under PF, we're also saying that they are wrong now. Our expectation is that President HH promises Zambian people he will rule, by the rule of law, as he puts it. But we are seeing that it's a rule of men, ultimately, and directives are being made by, apparently, State House to direct individuals that they must be picked or arrested or kept in cells for 14 days. I think that's unacceptable.
Finally, as you conclude, I want you to highlight to us why have you declared the 28th of October as the Green Day, as well as when are you likely to sit when is the Central Committee likely to sit to set the date for the constitutional meeting conference, as well as the date for the convention?
We have declared 20th of October as a green day in honor of former President Michael Sata, who was a visionary of the Patriotic Front, just in recognition of his contribution, his massive contribution, and just the contribution that he made to the party. He was such a great man, and we believe as a Patriotic Front that we needed to declare that day in his honor so that we support him. What was the other question?
And they say likely when is
apparently we had a central committee that sat, and unfortunately, of course, that central committee was centered more based on disciplinary cases that we had to deal with. But there's an undertaking that currently is happening at Secretariat. I think that before you know it, before you blink, there will be an announcement as to when we'll be going to the Constitutional Conference, which is our #1 platform, which we want to do, so that at least we can deal with the lacunas or deficiencies that are in the Constitution to allow the level playing field for everyone to participate in the General Conference, a real General Conference, not the kangaroo one where we saw someone masquerading and still continues to masquerade, and even you've seen me with impunity saying that he will disregard the record order because he has powers, because he knows the powers that be supporting him. But I think that we are also ready and equal to the task. We have told our members that we must preserve, protect the integrity of the party, and hopefully this issue of the General Conference will be water under the bridge.
Thank you very much. Well, we have been talking to Mr. Edwin Lifekelo. He is the PF Media Director. He's been helping us to discuss the unfolding events pertaining to the PF intra-party wrangles, where we saw Mao Sampa, the lawmaker from Matero constituency, went ahead and held his own general conference and was elected as president of the party, an undertaking that was nowed by the court as of yesterday. Now, this is where we have to call it a day, Cozy.
Yes, this has been the Cabinet Breakfast. Don't forget to join us at 12 when we bring to you the lunch cafe. And also remember that tomorrow morning, Prudence comes with business for breakfast. So do make sure that you tune in to those particular programs as you continue watching Cabinet TV, because Cabinet TV is not just another channel.